Hello everyone, Danny here from Metal Couch, sitting on the, for lack of a better word, a metal love seat with my pal Naked Cups or Vince.
What's up?
We've been hanging out, doing a Mass Effect Let's Play, and before we wanted to get too in-depth into it, we wanted to give you guys an album review. I promised you a guest album review while I was down here, and Vince decided to pull out Intestinal's Human Harvest. Album that came out in 2010, and you said they were from Sweden, yes?
Yeah, that's from Sweden.
Okay. Track listing, we have Maggot-Filled Flesh, Licking a Dead Cunt, Blood Splatter, Piled Alive, Skin-Ripped Horror, Meat Train, Swamp, No Remains of Your God, Murder Equals Art, and Dead Raped Forever.
Very good track titles.
Even better band member names.
Yes, you want to open that?
Sure, let's go through the band member names here, because I'm sure that my subscribers are going to get a kick out of this.
Yeah.
Band members, you have Flesh Raper, Necrocock, Lord Gorecunt. You also have Testicular Mutilation. Granted that they don't actually tell you what instruments they play or who does vocals. I'm guessing Flesh Raper must be the vocalist or something. He's got the drummer must be Testicular Mutilation. Yeah. Sounds about right to me.
Yeah, beat drums.
So, after reading these interesting titles on the back of this disc, going into it, I felt that the album opened up halfway decent, something that it wasn't all too impressive with the first two tracks, in my opinion, but once you start getting into Blood Splatter and Skin-Ripped Horror tracks like that, I started to really enjoy the album instrumentally. This is more of a death metal album, for those of you who are wondering what genre it is.
Swedish death metal. New school.
New wave of Swedish death metal.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So, but instrumentally, the guitars are almost have a bit of a drop tune thrashy feel to me. That's what it reminded me of when I was listening to it. Vocals are your typical death metal vocals. Your little production is something like what you would see on an independent release, not really major production here.
Actually, I think, sorry to interrupt you,
Go ahead.
I think they did intentionally do that to make it sound like old school Swedish death metal.
More raw. Yeah,
yeah.
I know a lot of bands in Scandinavia do that on purpose.
Yeah.
But this isn't some kind of new polished Pro Tools. Yeah. But really, I did enjoy this album, despite the hilarity of the content with the titles and the band members' names. One thing I would probably comment on is that I can't really hear bass guitar too much.
No, you can't.
So that's my initial review consensus of the album. What, you have any comments you would like to add?
I mean, I would say that it's my album of the year for 2010. So I mean, it's old school. It's new Swedish death metal, which is trying to sound like old school Swedish death metal. And you have a lot of bands doing that. Not particularly Swedish bands, but a lot of new bands that are coming out and sounding like bands like Dismember and Obituary and etc. etc. You have like Cruciamentum, you have Intestinal, you have other bands that I can't think of because I'm fucking up right now. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't add anything into what you said. You can't hear the bass. It has that thrashy sort of guitar sound. It sounds very different than a band like Dismember's guitar tones would sound like, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a really decent album. I really enjoy it.
Now, for somebody who's new to the death metal scene or something like that, would you recommend this album as a starting point for them?
No, I would not.
It's not exactly a
No.
very accessible album
No.
to begin with. I would have to agree with you on that, especially with tracks like, let me see those track titles again, like tracks like Dead Raped Forever, Skin-Ripped Horror, Maggot-Filled Flesh, Licking a Dead Cunt. My highlight tracks would probably be Blood Splatter, Skin-Ripped Horror. I really did like No Remains of Your God.
Yeah.
Felt that those were some pretty decent tracks. Those are what I would recommend listening to if you're interested in this album. Um, do you have any
Yeah.
recommended tracks?
Yeah, I was gonna say Licking a Dead Cunt, Meat Train, and Dead Rate Forever. Especially the ending part of that. It's a very headbanging riff.
Yes, I agree. These are definitely riffs that you could be driving down the road and going 90 miles an hour.
And then headbanging, and then you crash into something because
Yes.
you're headbanging.
You're wrapped around a telephone pole.
And then you're dead.
Yeah. Raped.
Forever.
Forever. So, overall, for a grade on this album, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a great release. Granted, there are some things that could be improved, but I don't know. I really don't know much of the backstory on this band. I don't know how long they've been around. I don't know how many major releases they've had. So, I really don't know too much about this band. I kind of jumped into this blind without doing research.
Yeah, I did do research, and I looked on Metal Archives, and the only thing that they have for this band is this release. Like, there's no demos, there's no EPs that I could find, and it was very hard to find something online for this album. So I eventually just ordered it and, listened it to that way. And yeah, there's really nothing much about this band. I think they started in 2009, maybe. They're a very new band though.
So this is probably their first release.
Yeah, it's their debut.
You always have to give some leeway with bands who are releasing their first album because it's their first album. They don't really have too much experience with making a work like this. So that does give them a little bit of leeway in terms of there's opportunities to screw up on this album.
Yeah.
And in general, they really didn't. Just some. Personally, I would mix it a different way. Kind of let the bass be a little bit more audible.
Yeah.
But that's more of a personal preference.
Yeah.
Than. But I still respect what they've done here, and instrumentally, I think it's a great album. And with death metal vocals, half the time you can hardly even understand them. But vocals to me really don't matter too much in death metal.
Lyrics and vocals don't matter,
especially with tracks like this.
Yeah.
So, do you have a grade for the album, or?
Yeah, I would give it a 9 out of 10, just because, as I said previously, it was my album of the year for 2010.
Now, I think the one last lingering question that people are going to have for you is, why aren't you doing album reviews?
Because I'm listening to metal most of the time, really. I'm always trying to find new bands. Like, I usually try to find, like, another band a day and listen to an album. Like, I usually try to find, like, 2 or 3 albums that are new to me to listen to for a day.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is my metal insider here. He's one of my top sources for finding metal because he's constantly listening to it. I mean, just having a look at your listening station back there, it's absolutely absurd. The way you get that set up. I'm going to search for a band right here. I'm going to listen to this album and look for another one and listen to another one. So it's it's pretty good album. I would recommend my subscribers at least listening to it. Some of them may even get a laugh out of the song titles. But,
I definitely think they will.
But I 7.5 out of 10 for me, 9 out of 10 for Vince. Danny here from Metal Love Seat, signing off. Little bit gay. Too gay.
All right. Anyway.
So.
See you, man.
Later.